Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. As a developmental scientist, I spend a lot of time analyzing how our traits remain stable or change from childhood all the way into old age. And today we're decoding a truly fascinating scientific mystery together, the lifelong journey from a child's early temperament to their adult personality. We're going to rely on hard data and some incredible longitudinal studies to map exactly how early emotional traits evolve over an entire lifetime. Okay, let's dive right into this. Is a child's temperament literally their destiny? I mean, when you look at an impulsive toddler, or maybe a deeply shy preschooler, are you looking at a permanent blueprint for their adulthood? It's the central question we're tackling today. And as you'll see, the science reveals that the answer isn't a simple yes or no. It's actually a super captivating mix of biology, environment, and our daily interactions.
Think of this as our research syllabus for the day. We'll start by tracing the path from temperament to personality. Then we'll compare the biology of orchids and dandelions. After that, we'll look at genes, peers, and difficult events, followed by the sheer power of daily parenting behaviors, the role of secure attachment. And finally, we'll wrap up with some really practical strategies for building child resilience.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, from temperament to personality. Now, what's really striking about the data here is the long-term impact of early traits. This comes from the famous Asendorf study, which tracked kids from ages 4 to 6 all the way to age 23. Notice those latency gaps on the timeline? The data actually shows that the 15% most inhibited, or shy, children experience significant delays in entering their first stable relationship and finding their first full-time job compared to the control group. So early shyness literally shifted the timeline of their major adult milestones. Over time, these early temperaments kind of morph into what psychologists call the Big Five personality model. A massive 20-year study over in New Zealand found that 3-year-olds who were impulsive and easily distracted grew up to score highest in adult neuroticism, meaning they experienced higher anxiety and tension later in life. Conversely, confident 3-year-olds blossomed into highly extroverted adults. The core aspects of who we are really do persist, and they map surprisingly neatly onto this 5-factor framework. Let's move right into Section 2, orchids, dandelions, and biology. I absolutely love this visual metaphor because it perfectly captures the groundbreaking Kochanska study. Some kids are what we call dandelions. They have naturally low fear and they're remarkably resilient. Even under really harsh parenting environments, their compliance stays pretty stable. But orchid children, they are highly sensitive. When they're raised with harsh power assertion, they react with intense resistance. But here is the amazing part. In optimal, nurturing environments, orchid children actually outperform the dandelions. Their sensitivity literally becomes their greatest superpower. And we need to be crystal clear here. This sensitivity isn't just a behavioral quirk. It is rooted deeply in a child's physiological brain wiring. Researchers actually track biomarkers like cortisol stress responses and respiratory sinus arrhythmia, or RSA. These physiological markers dictate exactly how a child's nervous system regulates emotion when faced with environmental stress. It's biology, plain and simple. On to Section 3, genes, peers, and difficult events. Because temperament doesn't just exist in a vacuum. We call this the gene-environment correlation loop, and it is wild how it shapes our social relationships. There are 2 mechanisms at play. First is active. As kids grow, especially in adolescence, their genetic traits lead them to actively choose similar environments. Think of oppositional teens seeking out defiant peers, which just amplifies their natural temperaments. Second is evocative. An angry child naturally evokes a harsher, more irritated response from parents and peers, which, of course, makes the child even angrier. We are constantly pulling reactions out of the world that reinforce our baseline personalities. And then, of course, there is the sheer unpredictability of life. A major study by Shiner and colleagues followed people from age 10 all the way to 30. They found that both independent negative events, like unexpected health problems, and dependent events, like school suspensions, actively increased adult neuroticism and decreased conscientiousness. So life's difficult events leave permanent, measurable marks on our personality trajectory over time.
Which brings us to Section 4, the power of daily parenting behaviors.
For any caregivers tuning in, I really want to emphasize that your home is a lab. The lab of the home is actively shaping your child's neurobiology every single day. Researchers note 2 main parental philosophies here. Emotion dismissing involves minimizing a child's negative feelings, just trying to get rid of the sadness or anger as quickly as possible. Emotion coaching, on the other hand, views that negative emotion as an incredible opportunity for connection. When parents coach rather than dismiss, they actively build up a child's constructive coping mechanisms, and that leads to massive improvements in their future emotional well-being and peer relationships.
So, what does this actually look like? A key tool is parental mental state talk. It's exactly what it sounds like, simply talking about feelings, validating them, adjusting your vocabulary to the child's age, and creating a shared narrative about a difficult event. This doesn't just make your kid feel better in the moment, it physically builds the neural architecture in their brain for shared thinking. It gives them the tools they'll need to negotiate complex social relationships well into adulthood.
Moving to Section 5, the role of secure attachment.
This brilliantly illustrates our foundational evolutionary system of safety. Notice how the child here is clasping the mother, using her as an absolute haven of safety while physically pushing away the stranger. This is Mary Ainsworth's classic secure attachment in action. Having this early expectation of a reliable protector allows the child to bravely explore the world. And studies show it's the absolute bedrock for lifelong social competence. But what happens when that secure attachment is compromised? The science here is honestly striking. Insecure avoidant attachment isn't just an attitude. An avoidant child might look perfectly calm on the outside, but inside, their body is releasing terribly high levels of the stress hormone cortisol. Over time, this insecure attachment alters the physical structure of the brain's amygdala. By early adulthood, these individuals have to exert immense cognitive effort at a neurobiological level just to process basic positive emotions.
Let's wrap up with Section 6, strategies for building child resilience.
Here are 3 daily actionable steps derived directly from the research to support kids with all kinds of temperaments. First, practice cognitive sensitivity. This basically means mind reading, really considering your child's knowledge and abilities during an interaction and matching their level. Second, coach them through negative emotions instead of immediately punishing the anger. Third, try collaborative reminiscing. Once the heat of a tantrum has totally passed, talk about the negative event together. Establishing this mutually rewarding orientation builds the child's absolute willingness to cooperate with you in the future.
And here is a phenomenally simple trick from the Finkel study that works wonders for parents and couples alike. The third-party perspective. It literally takes just 7 minutes a month. You sit down and analyze a recent family conflict from the viewpoint of a neutral third party who just wants the best for everyone. The data shows this simple exercise drastically preserves relationship satisfaction, it models brilliant emotion regulation for your kids, and it helps maintain those secure family bonds over the long haul. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly vital question. What emotional architecture will you build today? Every shared smile, every validated tear, and every coached moment of anger is quite literally wiring your child's brain for their adult future. Your everyday positive interactions are the building blocks of a lifetime. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore the incredible science of emotional development.